Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the CCD 75 Parent Support Group. We are calling this meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. Welcome back, everyone. We're excited to continue in our parent series. We have one more coming after this, which is going to be Thursday, February 6th. We also have our interpreters in Mandarin, Spanish, and Bangla. We want to give them the opportunity to give their instructions, so we will lead off with Mandarin. You may unmute to provide the instructions.
晚上好，欢迎来到我们的会议。中文翻译，请拨打347-966-4114，347-966-4114，请务必输入编码748-045-256井号键来调至中文服务频道，编码是748-045-256。井号键，请务必输入井号键。进入房间之后，请将自己的手机静音，以确保会议的通畅进行。感谢您。Mandarin interpreter done.
Thank you so much. Spanish, you have the floor to give your instructions.
Sí, muy buenas tardes. Para escuchar la interpretación en español de esta reunión, por favor, marque desde una línea telefónica al 347-966-4114 y luego ingrese el PIN o ID de conferencia, que es 516-134. 051 seguido de la tecla de número. Una vez más, para escuchar la interpretación en español, marque desde la línea telefónica al 347-966-4114 y luego ingrese el PIN o ID, que es el 516-134-051 seguido de la tecla de número. Recuerde que debe silenciar sus micrófonos para que los demás padres puedan escuchar la interpretación sin interferencias, y he dejado la información en el chat. Spanish announcements has been done.
Alrighty, I think that leaves us with Bangla. You have the floor to give your instructions.
শুভ সন্ধ্যা সবাইকে। আপনারা যদি অনুষ্ঠান বাংলায় শুনতে চান, আপনারা ডায়াল করতে পারেন 347-966-4114। নাম্বারটা আবার হলো 347-966-4114। তারপর আপনারা একটা আইডি নাম্বার দিবেন, ওটা হলো 478-272-904 হ্যাশট্যাগ। আইডি নাম্বারটা আবার হলো 478-272-904 হ্যাশট্যাগ। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you so much for giving your instructions. Okay, guys, I want you to know, forgive me for being off camera again. Once again, my name is Christy Angel. I'm the co-president for the Citywide Council for District 75. This meeting is being recorded only for the presentation part. Once the presentation is over, we will come off of the recording so that we allow space for parents to have spaces of confidentiality and to get the help and or resources that you need. Now, with that being said, I want to introduce Robin Ann McGonigal. She is a part of Family Kind, and they support parents and caregivers, including those who are divorcing or separating. They are helping parents who are overwhelmed, in stress, in transition. Robin has her own practice. She has an amazing, beautiful spirit, and I know you guys are going to love her as much as I do. By the time we're done with this series, she will continue partnering with the Citywide Council for District 75. So we do appreciate Family Kind. And with that, we're going to jump into week 2, breathing to support your nervous system. And we're going to explore some breathing techniques and mantras to promote balance and reduce stress, and anything else that Robin would like to lead us through. And with that, Robin, and I give you the floor. Thank you again for helping us through this process.
Thank you so much, Christy. You're a beautiful soul yourself, and I love working with you. So thank you again, everyone, for having me. I will promise I will try to speak slowly so the interpreters could interpret. So please slow me down if you need to. But it is all about taking the moment, right? And it's all about breathing and slowing down. So before we actually get into this, I want to put a little disclaimer out there. Sometimes breathing at first isn't the best option. So the first thing we have to do is just pause. And once we pause, that kind of slows the nervous system a little bit so then the breathing can take place. If we do that first, it's easier. If we try to breathe and then do these maneuvers that I'm going to teach you, the techniques that I'm going to teach you, it's much more difficult. Some people have a very hard time doing it. So remember, we're going to pause, then use the techniques. So that being said, let's go on this journey. All right, so how breathing impacts the nervous system. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background about this so we understand our bodies better, because the most important part of understanding how to parent well is to understand our bodies and our minds. So breathing directly impacts the nervous system by influencing the activity of our autonomic nervous system, particularly what we call the vagus nerve. Now, this vagus nerve, and there's a diagram there, actually starts as parts of our facial features. It's in our brain, but it goes all the way down to our stomach, to our gut. So that's why we get like our digestive issues when we get stressed. We get chest issues because it goes all into the main organs of our body. So that is a very, very important thing to understand, because then you're understanding your body is telling you something. It's telling you that you might be too stressed. So we have to pause. We need to breathe, which these mechanisms can be triggered by relaxing responses stimulated by slow, deep breaths. And when we're able to pause and breathe deeply and slowly and mindfully, we're actually calming the nervous system. And this is what we call as emotion regulation. So we need to regulate ourselves as adults and as parents and guardians in order to help the children that we love so much regulate. So effectively calming the body down and reducing stress by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, that's the nervous system that puts us what we call rest and digest. That's the one that calms our soul, calms our body, and lets us connect with our children, connect with other people, instead of feel stressed and angry and want to disconnect. So this vagus nerve is actually what they also call the wandering nerve, because it wanders all the way down, like I had said, from your head all the way to your stomach, which is a very interesting feature in itself. So as it's wandering, it's communicating to the brain. Is there stress? Is there threat? It's communicating to the chest. Are we feeling stressed? Should we feel tight? To the stomach, to the digestive system. Is there something we need to work on? Is there something that's stressing us out that we need to take a moment and think about? And that's where we're going to follow through with. And we're going to listen to our bodies. So part of understanding your nervous system is listening to the communication that it's providing. So a well-functioning vagus nerve, again, that's a huge part of your nervous system, helps you and your children maintain a calm state and respond appropriately to situations. So instead of reacting, we're going to respond. So our children are screaming, they're fighting, they're not getting ready for school, nothing's going on correctly that we want, we're getting stressed. So our nervous system is getting heightened. And what causes that heighten is that we're hearing too much. So we're overstimulated. Our nervous system is telling us, take a break, pause. I'm not saying to leave the room. I'm not saying to ignore your children. I'm saying to stop, notice what's happening to your body, and that's when the breathing comes in. So if you take that one big inhale, which I would love for all of you to do right now, just take that in through your nose and blow it hard out through your mouth. That one moment, one breath that I just took, and hopefully you joined me, will actually start to calm your nervous system and bring you from a heightened state all the way down to a calmer state. So this vagus nerve, when it's disrupted by stress, like I said, can cause digestive problems, cardiovascular, your heart and your lung problems, respiratory, anxiety. It can also cause us to be very, very aggressive, violent at times, because we're getting so stressed and our body cannot handle it. So the vagus nerve function significantly impacts overall health. So your emotion regulation, understanding your emotions, calming your emotions down and regulating them, your mood. So instead of being angry and frustrated and isolating yourself, you can connect more with others. You can reason more with yourself and understand your body better. And also the ability to cope with stress. And as we know, parenting is really stressful. It's wonderful, it's fabulous, but it's extremely stressful. Breathing helps us do that, understanding our nervous system. So a little bit more about the nervous system so you understand what's going on when you're feeling these emotions. Because a lot of times when we're feeling something in our body, it's very overwhelming. And sometimes it feels like you're having a heart attack. Sometimes it feels like your stomach is never going to stop hurting, or you're feeling nauseous or faint. A lot of those are stress reducers. They're stress induced, and the nervous system's, again, communicating you need to stop and listen. So that parasympathetic nervous system, it's slow, deep breathing signals it to calm down, and it activates what we call the connection. So right now the body starts to get calm, the stress hopefully gets to be reduced, and you're restoring balance within your body. And we know from research and just experience, once you start doing this, you'll realize that when I'm balanced, my body is balanced as a guardian, as an adult, my children are more balanced. Now, does it work all the time? No, because sometimes our children are off balance, but that's our job. But the more we do belly breathing, chest breathing, box breathing, the better our nervous systems will be. The trick with breathing is to do it when you're not heightened, to practice it first when you're not heightened. So hopefully none of you are heightened right now. Hopefully you're somewhat calm. So if you practice these as we go through this workshop, that will help you. When you're in a heightened state and a stressful state with your children or with anybody, that's the worst time to start this because your nervous system isn't practicing it properly. It needs to be in a calm state. So that's the first tip I will give to all of you, is to practice it in those few seconds or moments that you have where you're calm or there's some type of peace. So belly breathing increases the vagus nerve, that part of our nervous system that controls so much of where we are in our state of stress. And it activates it to keep the key to slowing the heart rate. So when our heart rate is slower, our nervous system is signal that, okay, this is not a threat. We can handle this situation. It might be stressful, but we can handle it. And now the body begins to relax. You'll feel your muscles relaxing, the tightness in your chest starts to subside, your facial features start to relax a bit, and then you can move on, and allows the body to feel more in a recovery state or a balanced state than a stressed out state. You would actually even feel the difference in your muscles as well. The balancing that sympathetic nervous system. Now this part of the nervous system is your fight or flight. So this is the part that is very stressed and starts screaming. This is the part that's very stressed and leaves the room in anger. We don't want that because it gives mixed messages to our children and to the people that are around us. So we want to calm this part of our nervous system. It gets activated and overly activated by stress, which leads to very shallow, rapid breathing. And I'm sure you've all experienced it. The day and age that we all live in, we experience this just from moment to moment. So when you start to feel it, and this is what I ask all of you to start to listen to your bodies, to recognize what your body's telling us. When you hear your breathing changing, you're usually in a stressful situation. And we know that, obviously. Emotionally, we don't. Logically, we do. You need to listen to your bodies because that's when you have to do conscious breathing. And what I mean by that is I have a bunch of techniques we'll do in a little bit. Box breathing is one of them, where it slows the intake into your body, into your lungs, and slows it going out. And what we do when we slow it down, we calm our nervous system. So the nervous system doesn't think that the stress is so overwhelming anymore. We know that there's stress, logically, but now emotionally, we know that we can handle it. And that also decreases the hormone, which we call cortisol. Now, cortisol is a hormone that is poisonous to our bodies. It's good for us if there's an emergency, if there's a crisis, God forbid, there's a car coming, we have to, get across the street without getting hit. That's where cortisol, adrenaline is very helpful. However, stress produces cortisol consistently. The more cortisol that is pumped through your body or your children's bodies, it is toxic. So it causes digestive system issues. It causes respiratory and cardio issues. It causes physical illness. So it's something to really think about. So that's why breathing, again, is so important because it reduces the process of cortisol being produced. So the other thing that balancing our breathing does, it brings more oxygen into our body, and the carbon dioxide is expelled more. So that balance is better. When we're in a heightened state, when we're very stressed, we're not getting a good enough introduction into oxygen. We're taking in too much at a time or not enough at all. and then the production of carbon dioxide, which is that chemical we want out of our body, is actually not enough. It stays in, which again is not healthy for our bodies. So deep controlled breathing includes this. So it balances, the oxygen comes in, that's that deep breath, and then out the carbon dioxide. And again, now it's balancing it through your respiratory system, which is extremely, extremely helpful because it prevents dizziness, it prevents fainting, it prevents mood swings, and it prevents any lightheadedness throughout the day that you might feel or any nausea you might feel. So obviously, if this continues, you definitely need to see a doctor just to make sure, make sure that you're healthy. Okay, so promotes the other thing when breathing for our nervous system, it promotes emotional regulation. So when I talk about emotional regulation, and we touched on this a bit last week, emotional regulation is we have these emotions. Some of them are really exciting, happy, wonderful. Some of them are frustrating, anger, sadness, stressed is a really big emotion we're all feeling, and frustration. Calming our nervous system with breathing actually helps us regulate those emotions. So the emotions don't control us, we control the emotions. So breathing controls the affect of our part of our brain that are saying that, these emotions are too strong, I can't handle them. The breathing says, no, these emotions are manageable. Calming the breathing, it calms the anxiety, it calms the fear, and it puts us in the reality of now that we have this. We are really strong parents. I know all of you are very, very strong. All of you are wonderful parents. And it reminds you of that because it puts you in the here and now instead of in the stressful situation that you feel like you're in. It also improves focus and reduces overwhelm. So as we're getting stressed from the parenting tasks or our job or housekeeping, whatever we need to be doing in our day, the nervous system is feeling more supported by the breathing, and it's feeling more accurate about, okay, this situation was overwhelming, but I actually can put it into pieces and I can handle it. So that nasal breathing that I have there on that slide right there, it's actually very simple. It looks a little silly, but I'm going to do it with you. So laughter is good too. So what you do is you put your thumb, and we're going to go over this in a few minutes. You put your thumb on one nostril and you hold it closed. And then you take a deep breath in. And then you put your finger and you switch. So you're breathing only through one nostril. The reason that is very helpful is because we have two parts of our brain, which is part of our nervous system. The left side of our brain is the logical side. The right side is the emotional side. So when we give each side a little bit of oxygen more than the other, it actually balances them both. And when we have the logical and the emotional parts of our brain balanced, we parent better. We interact with people better. Our nervous system closes down because it works as a team because they're calm. Both parts of those brains are calm. So that's what that nasal breathing does for us. And we'll be practicing that in a few moments. So that fight or flight response is responsible for our anger. It's responsible for our rage and our disconnect from our family and friends. And we don't want that. So preparing the body for immediate action in stressful situations by increasing the heart rate and dilating the pupils and inhibiting digestion are good in certain situations. Like I said, God forbid there's a car coming and we need to pull our children away or us away. There's a crisis situation. That's a necessary, right? But that's not necessary in other situations. So we want to go to the parasympathetic, which is where our nervous system is in rest and digest. And that's the part where we can connect with our family. We can connect with our children, our friends, our colleagues, something along those lines. And it's a more peaceful state. That's the time when you're hopefully at the end of the day, when you're like exhausted and you can just sit on the couch for a few minutes and you feel almost like your body gives in. That's your nervous system in that stage. It's saying, oh, finally, I can just sit here for a moment and rest. And that's when your actual digestive system works the best, is when you're actually in rest and digest. So a perfect example, so a lot of us are eating on the go, or we're eating in stressful situations, and then we have stomach aches after. Our children are in the same position. It's never, ever healthy to eat when you're stressed because your nervous system isn't ready to help your digestive system digest. So that's why there's a lot of stomach issues that come out of stress. That's one connection to it. It also promotes relaxation and restoration and bodily functions after stressful situations. So if you were in a stressful situation, you're very heightened, you are unable to calm yourself down, it's so important that you breathe after, because what it does is it releases the nervous energy in your nervous system. It releases the stress energy in your nervous system. So I always tell parents, and we talked about this a little last week, get movement in there. So if I'm arguing with my children and they're screaming and yelling and I'm really stressed out and I'm like at my wit's end, I can't do it in the moment for some reason because I haven't practiced it enough. After that moment's over, I always just shake it out. I dance it out. I get the energy out. Then I breathe. That's the pause, right? I take that pause and then I do some deep breathing. I do some box breathing and I restore my nervous system. Because if you don't do that after your stressful situations, even take 30 seconds to do that, you're keeping it in your nervous system. You're creating more cortisol, which we talked about is toxic. And now you're literally poisoning your body. So the next time you are stressed, you get stressed quicker. The nervous system doesn't really learn that, we can handle this. It learns that, oh my gosh, we have to get stressed quicker to handle it quicker. And that's not necessarily the case, as we all know. It sometimes makes it a lot worse. So including that, the whole idea is to slow your heart rate. So that's what deep breathing does. And it calms your whole body. It tells your heart that you can calm down. It calms your breathing down, which makes you think clearer. So now you're responding instead of reacting. So there are 3 states of our nervous system. And when I always work with guardians, I love them to know this because this is also really good to know for your children. When to help them understand and when to kind of teach them, especially if you're teaching them a behavior that you weren't really too happy about and you'd like to change that behavior. The safe and social, which is called the ventral vagal state, is the best state to connect in because it's considered the connection state. So if your child's behaving in a way that you are not happy with, we're not cooperating, this is the state when your child's in this state, and we'll talk about what that looks like for you and your child. This is the state to actually have that conversation, that learning moment, because you're connected. So in order to be in this state, your nervous system has to be at the calmest level possible. So it has to be calm and connected and engaged. Here you're able to listen, empathize, and respond thoughtfully to your children. And your children also are able to do the same, depending upon their level and their experience. Activities to promote in this stage are deep breathing, mindfulness, and we're going to do a lot of mindfulness a little bit more actually next week. And then also some positive interactions with your children here. And the reason that this state works so well for people is because it allows them to connect with their children and connect with each other. The other reason the state is important because it allows you to connect with yourself. So if you're able to connect with yourself and feel calm and peaceful with yourself, you could recognize the times when you're feeling stressed and alter that and know what to do. And again, those techniques we'll be talking about will help you. So the next stage is the sympathetic state. And this is your fight or flight, as we talked about. This is when we're feeling stressed, anxious, or reactive. Something happens and we had a really bad day and we react poorly to everything. Just everything is on our nerves. Everything is frustrating. This state can be good, again, if there's an emergency. If we want to get things done in an assertive way, that's great. But this state does not work if we want to connect with our children. If we're yelling and screaming, because that's usually what happens in this state because we're overwhelmed, or we act impulsively, we disconnect with our children. And then usually that's a snowball. The children don't do what we need them to do. They don't do what we want them to do. And they're not feeling loved. They're not feeling connected. And that's never a good thing. We don't want that, obviously. So strategies to regulate in this state, if you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed and you're yelling and you're frustrated or you're raising your voice, physical movement. And as I had said, I always tell parents, if you don't feel comfortable dancing or you can't go and take a walk, then just shake it out. Just shake all your body out. Jump up and down, do some jumping jacks, sit up and down, do squats, whatever works for you, whatever your body's able to do, but you have to physically move. We need to move to help regulate our nervous system. Then once you're done moving, as I said before, you prepare to deep breathe. In and out through the nose, the box breathing, which we'll do. And the other, which we worked on last week, was grounding exercises. So a quick review of that would be, so I use the 5 senses. It's a great one. 5 things you see in the room. 4 things you actually hear. 3 things you smell, 2 things you can actually physically touch in the room, like my sweatshirt or my hair or a pillow or something along those lines. And then 1 thing, if you have it available, something that you taste, maybe some juice or something along those lines, because that grounds your nervous system as well. You put these 3 steps together, and then you have a very balanced nervous system. And now you can connect, and hopefully your child's watching you do this, or you're doing it with your child. And then instead of being in this fight or flight stage, you both can go back to that safety connection stage that we just discussed. And the next stage is our shutdown stage. This is the dorsal vagal. And the idea of shutdown is not always good. It's not always bad. And we'll talk about the differences of that. So when we're shut down in a negative way, we're numb, we're disconnected, and we're exhausted. Some people will go to sleep and that's it. They'll sleep for hours and hours and hours. It's almost like an avoidance or an escape because their body physically cannot handle it anymore. Their nervous system is done. Some people have actually fainted in this state because they pushed themselves so far. The nervous system said, I'm done, I'm shutting down. So we never want to get to that. So there are other people who kind of just go into what we seem like almost like a daze. They seem disconnected because they are. They seem disassociated because they are. And it's in this fog. They're kind of daydreaming almost because they just have to disconnect to kind of re-energize. The problem here is that you withdraw emotionally, right? You feel helpless and hopeless. And now you're not connected at all to your child or to anybody around you. And that's unsettling for the children. And it's confusing. The healthier part of this dorsal vagal, the shutdown stage, is when you're just exhausted from the day and your body's able to actually go to sleep. Or you're able to sit at the dinner table and you're at your table and you say, okay, I can actually have a meal and eat it and not feel stressed. So that's the healthier form. But unfortunately, as parents, we're very rarely in that form because we're always moving and grooving and trying to do what's best for our children. So the ways to re-engage ourselves, gentle movement here. So we're not going to do jumping jacks. We're not going to shake and dance. We're going to do stretches. So we'll put our arms up, we'll put our arms down. We'll twist side to side, something along those lines. A lot of us, I'm sure, maybe we'll rotate our head. Sometimes you do these moves and you don't even realize it. We want the gentle moves because it's literally waking the nervous system up again. So think about in the morning when you're actually stretching from the night's sleep, that you're actually waking up your nervous system, and it's just an automatic impulse to do. And then you're looking for some sort of social connection. Sometimes that's hard. And this is why this group is so important, that you have each other so you can maybe reach out to someone and say, you know what, I'm feeling really down, I'm feeling really disconnected from somebody, I just need somebody to listen. And when we start to connect with somebody, we move ourselves up the ladder into that connection of part of the nervous system, and we're able to be healthier and better parents. And here's a little, hopefully a visual that will help some of you understand what it looks like. So it's helping our vagus nerve here. So that top, and think of it as a ladder. So at the bottom, we're feeling, I can't cope, I'm collapsed, shut down, I just can't do it. I don't want to parent anymore. I just want to be by myself because everyone leave me alone. And sometimes we need that time. We deserve that time. You all deserve it because you're all worthy of taking care of yourselves. We just don't want to stay there too long. The next part of that ladder, if you climb up and I'm in danger, I need to run, I need to fight back. This is where we're feeling stressed. Maybe we're not getting along with our co-parent. Maybe we're not getting along with a colleague. Maybe our children are just not listening and we're just missing it. We're not connecting. We're feeling very, very overwhelmed. But that causes a threat. So we're either going to fight or flight. What are we going to do? So we need to kind of, again, be aware of that. And the one that we really want to strive for at the top of the ladder there is our ventral vagal. And this is where you feel your nervous system feels, I'm connected. All right, I'm connected to my co-parent, I'm connected to friends, family, and more importantly, my child, my children. And that you feel that. I think you all understand your bodies enough where you feel the difference when you're connected with somebody than when you're not. So if you think of it as a ladder and you're striving for the top of the ladder, and that's where your nervous system can take you if we listen to it. So the role of breathing in regulating our stress responses. Breathing plays a crucial role in regulating stress responses by directly influencing the nervous system. So that's that pause and de-escalate. So again, we've all been stressed. So you feel it in your body. You feel like you want to crawl out of your skin, or you're going to jump out of your skin. You're feeling really tense and angry. If you take that pause, the pause is all about de-escalating, which is calming your nervous system. And that's what breathing really does. Grounding also does that, like we had discussed. Our brain associates different emotions with different breathing patterns. Breathing exercises work because they actually trick our brain. Our brain thinks that we're actually in a different state. So if once you practice this in a calm state, and now you're in a stressful parenting state or a stressful, situation at all, you can trick your brain, because the brain doesn't know what's real and what's not, into thinking that you're not stressed simply by the way you breathe, which is I think it's pretty impressive. So when you slow your breathing down in times of stress, you can trick your brain into thinking that you're actually calm. And there is no threat, there's no challenge at hand. So if I'm arguing with my children because they're fighting, we have to get out the door, instead of me joining in, right, I'm going to take a moment, I'm going to pause. I'm putting my hands on my chest because that's what I usually do to remind myself to breathe. I'm going to take a pause. I take a deep breath. And now I'm thinking, I'm going to trick my nervous system, I'm tricking my brain, still in a stressful situation. But the breathing, the way I'm breathing slowly, is going to say, well, I'm actually calm. Everything's wonderful. I know it sounds really easy, and it's not. But what I do tell everyone is that with practice, this does become second nature. You don't even realize you're doing it. And the wonderful thing about it is that you don't necessarily have to teach it directly to your children. If you start to just do this, they'll pick up on that. So if you're doing deep breathing, your children will start doing it without even realizing it, or they'll ask you questions about it. So it could be a whole family event. So if you're feeling stressed, the easiest way to begin to calm down is simply changing your inhale to exhale ratio. And this is something you don't even have to leave the room to do. So again, if you want to join me right now, we'll practice it now. I'll take a deep breath in, slow out. So you can count. We have a technique we'll do in a little bit where you can count to 4, deep breath in, and then hold it for 7, and then let it out for 8. And the reason that you do different numbers is because you're controlling it and you're regulating the system. If you did the same number, the body isn't tricked. The brain thinks that you're still in a stressful situation. So for example, try inhaling for 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale for 8. And you breathe out for 8, and you push it out through your mouth. When you push it out through your mouth, that actually calms your nervous system quicker. So inhaling causes your heart to speed up, but exhaling causes our heart rate to slow down. So the longer your heart rate is slowed, the calmer you feel. So we want to have it speed up a little bit with the inhale, but then we want to slow it down with the exhale. And what that again does is it tricks the nervous system thinking you're out of the stressful state. The other thing it does is now, instead of reacting to your children in the arguing, you can take that moment and respond. And that's obviously much better and healthier parenting, and hopefully they will be able to cooperate. So physiological impact. So when stressed, breathing often becomes rapid and shallow, which can further exacerbate the stress response. So again, a lot of people feel like they're going into panic. They'll tell me that they feel like they're having an anxiety attack, their chest is tight, they think that they're going to, have a stroke or a heart attack. And it's very, very scary because it feels so real. And really all it is, not always, but most of the time, it's stress. It's our anxiety overtaking us. So these deep, slow breaths signal the body to calm down, that it's safe, that there is no threat. The nervous system connection, so that autonomic nervous system controls involuntary bodily functions. So it controls your breathing. So when it is heightened, when your nervous system is heightened, your breathing gets rapid. And a lot of times we don't even know it. So by consciously being mindfully breathing, you're actually calming your nervous system down and you're relieving the threat. And the brain is, again, being tricked. And this is something that happens over and over. Belly breathing is another wonderful technique, and we're going to try it in a few moments. So this technique, where you focus on breathing deeply into your abdomen, so the bottom of your stomach, so you're breathing from your stomach, not your chest, is particularly effective for stress reduction, because it activates that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. So that lower kind of level nervous system that says, okay, I'm calm. Everything's fine, everything's wonderful, and you're in a peaceful state. So the reason you do that, because your vagus nerve, like I had mentioned, starts in your stomach and it goes all the way up to your head. So if you start breathing from your stomach instead of your chest, you're calming all your major organs from your digestive system all the way up to your brain, which is a pretty fabulous thing that we have control over that. We just have to practice it. Stress hormone reduction. So like I said, cortisol, adrenaline as well, but cortisol is the big one that's toxic. When we calm our stress regulation with breathing, we actually are reproducing a lot less cortisol and a lot less adrenaline. So those stress hormones will not interact with our organs and will not cause toxic responses throughout our body. Those toxic responses are mostly physical, but they do also have a mood change in that, because we know any chemicals in our body can change our brain chemistry. And sometimes our moods are much more quick, much more rapid and violent sometimes. So that's something to think about. So you can go from assertive to aggressive very, very quickly because of the cortisol that's passing through your body. So belly breathing. I'm going to take each of these techniques slowly, and I hope that you will join me in doing them. So how it works, it involves breathing deeply into your diaphragm to stimulate the vagus nerve. So right at the bottom of your stomach, there is your vagus nerve starts. So it's here. So if you think of your stomach as my hand right here, my fist, and this is where the vagus nerve starts, my other hand. It is actually pumping it and pushing it up, which is stimulating it. So think about it as actually saying it's like a switch almost, like, okay, let's go, let's get on, let's get calm. So place your hand on your chest. So one hand on your chest, the other hand on your belly. And I hope you're all doing this. I can't see anybody really. And you're going to inhale deeply through your nose and allow the belly to rise, but not your chest. So you're having your hand on your chest to make sure that you're not breathing through your chest. You want to feel your stomach go in and out. So you want your hand that's on your stomach to move. So and then you're going to exhale slowly through your mouth, feeling your belly fall. So your belly's going to concave, go into itself. So the inhale pushes your stomach out. The exhale relieves it and pushes it back in. So let's try a few rounds of this. So I hope you're doing it, because I don't want to feel silly doing it myself. Christy, you better be doing this with me. Okay, so you're ready? You're going to breathe in through your nose.
I'm doing it with you.
Thank you, Christy. And out through your stomach. Now, I want you to feel the difference. We're going to do it a few more times. Did you feel your hand on your chest move? Because if you did, you're not doing belly breathing. If you felt your stomach, the one on your stomach move, you're doing belly breathing. So you're doing a great job. So let's practice it again. So in through your mouth, your nose, excuse me, and out through your mouth. Really push hard throughout your mouth. Blow hard with a really hard out breath, because that's going to really move your stomach. The more you push your stomach out at those exhales, the more you're activating the nervous system. Okay, so keep it that way. So let's try two more. Yeah, Christy.
As a singer, when we learned how to breathe from our diaphragm, sometimes our teacher had us hold the bottom of a chair and bend over, force you to breathe from your diaphragm so you could feel the actual difference. So if anyone wants to bend over and grab a chair, it'll assist
I love
you.
that, Christy. Christy, I love that. I'm going to tell my daughter that. We've been talking about singing through our diaphragm, so I'm going to tell her that. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I love that tip. I love that. So everyone try that, because this is so important, because this is literally something that you don't have to leave a room to do. You can do this anywhere you are, and it calms you down so quickly. My suggestion would be, again, to practice it. Practice it now. Practice it, when you're not in a stressful state. And the more you practice, it will become regular for you. The other thing to think about too is to at least do it 4 or 5 times. So we're going to do it 2 more times together. So put your hand on your chest, one on your stomach, breathe in really hard, and then out. You should hear the deep breath in, and you should hear the deep breath out. So let's try it again. In through our nose, out through our mouth. You should also feel, if you have your hand on your chest by your heart, you might even feel your heart rate start to change if you're on the 3rd or 4th one. Usually by the 3rd or 4th one, you can feel the heart start to slow down a bit. So that is one for you. Another one, box breathing or square breathing. You can call it whatever you'd like. This balances the oxygen and carbon dioxide, calming the mind and body by slowing the heart rate. So here it's called box breathing or square breathing because you're going to do 4 inhales in, hold your breath for 4, 4 exhales out, hold your breath for 4, and then you repeat it again. This is repeated 5 times just to get the maximum. Again, doing it, practicing it when you're not stressed. The reason you're holding your breath in, because now what you're doing is you're telling the nervous system, I'm in control. I know what's best for me. You're not in control anymore. Because a lot of times our nervous system thinks it knows what's best. So you're holding it and you're keeping the oxygen. So now the oxygen is actually going through the organs that it needs to go through. So that's another key part of it. So let's practice together. So remember, inhale for 4, 3, 4, and hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you want to hear a big blow through that. And then you're going to sit for 4. You're going to hold your breath for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big exhale for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold it for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, it's a little hard for me to breathe in and exhale because I want to make sure I'm counting for you, but you count in your mind for 4. So we're going to do it together and we're all going to count in our mind. You could put your arms in your hands and you can do this anyway. You can stand, you can sit, you can, however you want to do this. You don't necessarily need to do it through your belly. It could be through any type of breathing that's comfortable for you. The key here is the 4-4-4. And you want to make sure it's a count of 4 seconds that works for you. So the reason I say that, especially when you're first starting out, some people extend the 4 seconds a little too long and they get a little lightheaded. So in any of the breathing activities and techniques, I just want you to be mindful of that. Do what's best for you. It doesn't have to be 4 at first. If you want to do 2, that works too. And then you can build up to 4. Some people, when they do box breathing, they build up to 8 seconds. The max I've heard is 10. And those are like your meditative type people. So let's try it again. I'm going to use my fingers to count. I don't know if you can see me, but hopefully you can. And then we'll do it, inhale, hold for 4, exhale, hold for 4, and then we're going to hold for 4 when we're done. Okay, so ready? Inhale. Hold. Exhale for 4. And hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, on this one, if you're by your 3rd or 4th try on your box repetitions, then you should be able to feel it in your heart and even feel a little tingle. Sometimes people will tell me they feel a tingle in their body. That's nothing to be alarmed about. That's actually your nervous system releasing some energy, which a lot of us aren't used to because we're always on the go. Okay, let's try another one. See how you guys like this one. This is 4-7-8 breathing. Promotes relaxation by extending the exhale. So now instead of in the inhale, we're going to push out the exhale a little longer. And this is reducing that fight or flight response. So this is telling the nervous system, there is no threat. There is no challenge I cannot handle. I've got this. So here the instructions are: inhale, breathe in silently through your nose for a count of 4. You're going to hold it, if possible, for a count of 7. And then you're going to exhale forcefully through your mouth for a count of 8 with a whoosh sound. So the whoosh sound was like that. And the reason you do that, if you do that, I know I sound silly and look silly, but it's fun. If you do that really powerfully, you'll actually feel kind of like almost a wind. It sounds really silly, but a wind throughout your body, because what it's doing is it's actually getting all the energy through your nervous system from your other systems, like your digestive system, your cardio system, your respiratory. It's all actually getting funneled through your respiratory system, which is an incredible thing our bodies do. And then you repeat this process about 3 times. The reason this one is done 3 times is because you are extending the breath and exhaling exhaling a little bit longer and holding a little bit longer, which could cause some dizziness. So we're going to try it for a count of 4, 7, and 8. But again, you can reduce this. Just make sure that each number is different, because you want the nervous system to, again, understand that you're in control and that that difference actually stimulates different parts of your nervous system. So let's inhale for 4 through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a big whoosh exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That whoosh, you should hear it. You should feel it. It also, if you had like feathers, the feathers would be go flying. So I'm going to just use my hands again and use my fingers to count so you can hear how I do it. So let's breathe in for 4. Exhale for 7. Oh, I'm sorry, hold it for 7. And exhale for 8, a big whoosh. They try to hold it. I did it differently this time to show you 2 different ways. You could do the big breath, like almost like a candle breath, like you're blowing out birthday candles, or the difference. I don't know if you can hear the difference over the Zoom, but the difference is it's in your cheeks. So you're pushing it out slower, so it actually helps you sustain the 8 count instead of doing it and you're feeling like you're losing your breath by 4 or 5. So it depends on it really depends on your structure of your mouth, to be honest, and what works for you. The sound does not matter what it sounds like. I just want you to feel that you're almost throwing out all the stress. That's what you want to think about. So that whoosh, that last exhale, is getting rid of all the stress that's in your life, and it's going right out your mouth into the earth, into the universe and away. That's the big part of this. So that 4, 7, 8 is really, really important. Let's find the next. Okay, so the nostril breathing, I explained a little bit before. So the basic idea of this one is that the nervous system needs to be synchronized. So again, it's the left and the right brain. You want to calm them. Some people are much more emotional, which is not a bad thing, but their right brain controls how they regulate themselves, if they regulate themselves in stressful situations. The left brain, some people are more logical, which again is not an issue, but if they're more logical, then that controls the nervous system. But when they do it separately, the nervous system really isn't irregulated at all. Actually, it's very dysregulated. So this type of breathing regulates the nervous system because it's saying the brain has to work together as a team, not just one hemisphere versus the other. So it does balance that and it does calm the mind. So how we do this one, close your right nostril with your thumb. So you take your thumb, put it on your right nostril. You're going to look a little silly, but it's worth it. And then you're going to inhale through your left nostril, the one that's not being closed. Then you're going to switch your pointer finger and you're going to put it on your left nostril. So now you're switching and you're going to breathe in through your nose, through your right nostril. So I use my pointer finger. I know I have there your ring finger. It really depends on your the structure of your hand. Whichever finger, it really doesn't matter. But you want to be able to do it quickly. So the idea is if I breathe in like this, and then I click and I breathe out. That's the whole idea of it, because you're going to inhale through one nostril, exhale through the other nostril, and then you're going to switch. This is only repeated once or twice because you're only using one side. It does cause lightheadedness a little bit quicker. But again, once you practice this, it actually works quicker than the other techniques I had shared with you. And you can do it a little bit more so. So we're going to do it again. And you can usually I do it for a count of 4. So I'll inhale for a count of 4, then I'll exhale for a count of 4, and then I will switch nostrils. So let's try this one time together. So put your thumb on your right nostril and gently close it. And we're going to inhale through our left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we're going to switch, close your left nostril and exhale through your right for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you alternate for one more time. Let's try it again. So your right nostril is closed. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Close your left nostril. Exhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what you would do after that, you'd pause for a few moments. And then you would switch. You would start with your left nostril. So you start here. So you would just use your left hand. And you put your left thumb on your nostril. And then you would switch. The reason you pause in between is because you want to just double check and kind of almost do a body scan to make sure that you're not feeling lightheaded, that everything feels okay, and that this is actually working instead of causing any type of discomfort for your physical self. The humming bee breathing, and this reminds me every time, any of these you can do with your children. It would be great if you could do it as a family event, because then it's a family value that we all value our nervous system. We all value breathing in the calm state. We all value working together. And it's just something that you can do to connect. And like I said, so if you're doing it, any of these techniques in a stressful situation, sometimes that's all you need to distract your children from the chaos that's happening. And it actually works pretty well. Not always, but it does work sometimes. So the humming bee breathing, vibration stimulates the vagus nerve and helps relax the nervous system. So inhaling deeply through your nose, exhaling while making a gentle humming sound. So the humming sound actually, which is anyone who is in meditative or yoga or anything along those lines, the nervous system, like I said, goes from your stomach all the way to your brain. So what it actually does, it's stimulating every part of your nervous system. The vagus nerve is going all the way from your stomach, and that vibration of your voice is going all the way to your brain. So it's hitting everything at once. It's actually the most effective of the breathing, and it stimulates the nervous system much quicker because it gets the energy out, but it also calms the nervous system a lot quicker. Just that's humming sound. So the humming sound would be like a zzz or buzz, whichever way you want to do it. And if you would feel it in your teeth, you feel it in your jaws, and there's lots of parts of our vagus nerve that are actually here. They're very sensitive. That's why people's facial expressions are really important when they're feeling certain moods and feelings, because the vagus nerve is controlling that. So we're going to take an inhale in for 4, and then we're going to exhale out, and we're going to make some sort of humming or like bee-like sound, however you'd like. So I'm going to use my fingers again. So we're going to inhale for 4. And make your sounds. And you could actually feel your face vibrating. That means your nervous system is actually calming down. It's regulating, it's expelling any energy that it is not necessary. This one you could do 5 to 10 times, which works really well. You can also start the number at 4 and then go all the way up to 7, 8, even 10. Some people have gotten to. That sound is really important. The other thing I love about this one, you don't necessarily have to do the inhale. So if you're feeling you're in a situation where you're just very overwhelmed, if you just make the humming sound or some type of sound like that, even the whoosh from the other technique, it will expel some of the energy for your nervous system. And that could be the pause before you do one of the techniques fully. Sometimes you just need to kind of shock the nervous system and make it kind of be aware that, we need to regulate, we need to be in the moment. Okay, so moving on a little bit. So applying these to everyday life, I know everything I'm saying sounds great, hopefully, but sounds impossible, right? Because who has the time for this? This doesn't make sense. Now you're telling me I have to practice, and I get it. But I can promise you, if you practice this, and I will help any of you do this, I will be there with you, and you're there for one another. It does work. I've never had this given to somebody and someone says it didn't work. The only time it hasn't worked, honestly, is if you don't practice. So like I said, you can make it a family event. You could do it on the train, the bus, the shower. So the first thing you need to do in these parenting moments when we're really stressed, we all know this, but it's hard to do, to take that deep breath, to slow your breathing down, focus on inhaling deeply in your belly. So sometimes when you're in these stressful situations, just put your hand on your chest, put your hand on your stomach, and just understand where the breathing's coming from. Just getting to know your body, and just taking that one deep breath can start you to de-escalate yourself. And then maybe, hopefully, you can use these techniques. Again, practicing them at times you're not stressed is much more beneficial. You can also try other breathing techniques to actively calm your body. So if you know something else, or you have another tip for yourself or each other, that would be great. Visualization is excellent, especially when we're breathing. I mentioned this quickly last week, but the idea of having, an idea, whether it's in your head or on your phone or somewhere in the house, if the beach or a lake is something that calms you down, visually seeing that while you're doing the breathing techniques calms the nervous system quicker. It's just because that visual of the beach, of the water, or soundscapes. Chrissy had thought, soundscapes last week, which is a great idea. So any type of music will help the breathing as well. But those visuals, actually your body thinks that it's there. So again, If you can just look at that and focus on that while you're breathing, you're doing the breathing much quicker than you think you are, and it's calming your system down better. So the techniques become a little bit easier to do. That's not always easy to have an actual visual in front of you. So the imagination in your mind, right? So you can close your eyes when you're breathing and imagine the beach, imagine the waves coming up, or whatever your happy place might be. It's different for everyone. So use your minds. We as adults, I think we have a hard time being creative and imaginative because we just don't have that in our day. But that is really important to come get back for yourselves. What's my happy place? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Couple that with these deep breathing techniques, then you've got a great set of foundation for your nervous system to be calmer throughout your day, allowing you to respond more calmly to the situation. So again, this is a benefit for you. You deserve this. It keeps you healthier across the board. There's tons of research that shows we do these breathing techniques daily. If it's part of our daily routine, it's something we do all the time, then we're healthier mentally, physically, and emotionally, and we definitely parent better. Time away moment. I know this is almost impossible as parents. If a situation becomes overwhelming, excuse yourself if possible, and go to a quiet place and practice hopefully one of the techniques I have shared with you. I know this is really hard. That's why I tried to pick techniques you could do in the moment if you couldn't remove yourself. The removing yourself is obviously easier because in the sense that you can do the breathing techniques easier, but it's not always easy to remove ourselves. So again, I try to tell people practice them maybe while you're doing the dishes. So you're somewhat active, but you're not stressed. Then maybe upgrade it. So now you're on the train and it's very loud, or the bus and it's very crowded. Practice it there. So it's kind of like those steps. So when you're in a very stressful situation, your nervous system was already trained, practiced. It already knows what to do. And sometimes you won't even realize, but you're doing these techniques without actually consciously being aware of it. Remember to model this for your children. That's hopefully something I'm sure all of you do already. Integrating into your daily life gets a little bit complicated, but as I had said, try to do it while you're washing the dishes. Try to do it before a meal. Have those set times. You know when you're brushing your teeth, you know when you're showering, so maybe do it right before you brush your teeth or while you're brushing your teeth, while you're putting the toothpaste on. Some of the breathing you need your mouth, obviously. Maybe doing it in the shower. That's when I actually do it. I find it very relaxing. The water is really helpful, kind of calms the nervous system in general. I do it sometimes while I'm making dinner, right before I go to bed. Last week, I had asked all of you to give gratitude to yourselves. So part of that gratitude is maybe closing your eyes and doing one of the breathing techniques, especially before bed. Because what research is showing us is that guardians are going to bed really stressed, which means they're not getting really any type of healthy sleep. So if we can calm ourselves down even just a little bit and work that up to all the time, which again, wishful, that would really help us as guardians. So you won't wake up as stressed. So focusing on those deep inhales consciously and being mindful of your breathing, understanding that, okay, I'm hearing that I'm breathing really quickly. What was that technique I learned last week? Okay, box breathing. Maybe I can try that. A family event, like I had said, make it a family activity. The best place, if you can, to find a comfortable, warm spot that makes you feel good so you're able to focus on your breathing. That would obviously be helpful. And again, give yourself some grace here. Just pick one. Pick one, work on that and see if that works for you. If it works, great, stick with it. If it doesn't, try another one. And then eventually the goal I would love for all of you to pick up maybe 3 of them that you can use interchangeably because they all do stimulate the nervous system a little bit differently. So some key points, find natural moments. So again, those breaks in the day where maybe you're walking to the car, in the car, making breakfast, eating breakfast together, mindful awareness, being aware of your body, what it's telling you. You're breathing too rapidly. You need to do your box breathing. You're stressed, you're tense, your shoulders are really tight. You need to do some techniques from breathing. Progressive practice, short sessions, make it really quick, practice maybe a minute a day. Then work yourself up if possible to 5 or 6 minutes a day. This is practice. This is not when you're in stressful situations. That consistency is key. Again, you can try it for a week, and then if you don't do it for another 2 weeks, unfortunately, it's not going to work. I wish it would, but it's not. There's no magic wand here. You need to be consistent, and you deserve that. So honor yourselves with that. And create a tranquil space. And that's something I think is easier said than done, but that tranquil space could be in your mind. hopefully this helped, and I can't wait to hear all of you talk in a few moments. That was my favorite part last week. But I am from Family Kind, and that is our information. So please, if you need any help, we are there for all of you, and anything you need. And if we don't have it, I will find referrals for you. So that's my spiel, Christy.
Well, thank you for your spiel, Robin. It's always amazing. And I don't know about anybody else, but I was over here breathing, baby. I
I
needed,
hope so. I felt silly doing it
needed
by
a little
myself.
bit of assistance. Today has been very long. So I'm curious and
Sorry.
grateful for those parents and guardians that are here today. So we're going to open up the floor for any of you that have any questions for what Robin Ann has just presented, or about breathing, about any topic you have that may exist in this moment. Does anyone have any questions? You can raise your hand and or unmute. And also for some of the visual learners, I did put some links into YouTube. There are a few apps that do support what Robin Ann was speaking about with the box breathing or 478, where it'll show you a visual to help you kind of keep your mind attached to being focused on the breath. Sometimes we can lose track of that while we're also trying to be on point with breathing. So while we're holding on to see if anyone has any questions in the chat, let's check in with Mandarin, Spanish, and Bangla chat rooms to see if we have any questions there. And while you're quiet, keep practicing your breathing.
I was just thinking that, Christy. Hopefully that's what you're all doing. You're taking the moment for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
No questions so far in the Spanish line. Thank you.
While we're waiting for them to answer, Robin, I'd have a question.
Sure.
I know you were saying you need to practice your breathing while you are not in a space of crisis and or stress.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Just hard.
that could be challenging. So what about the people who have practiced it and then you get into crisis and somehow your tool isn't there to use? Is that when you should do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? What should be the segue
Yeah.
that might be able to bring you back?
Absolutely. You're 100% right. So if you feel like, okay, I've practiced my breathing techniques, but I'm in this stressful situation, it's not happening, that's when you do the grounding techniques. You do 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, or even quicker is look for shapes, circles in the environment. Look for red, anything that's red. And that will kind of bring you down a little bit, enough to remember and be able to do the breathing technique. Does that make sense?
So you say find like 5 things that are blue, 4 things that are
Yep.
red,
Mhm.
just go through
Yeah.
the colors.
Yeah.
Okay. That gives you space. I'm thinking like when your body just goes into that fight or flight, sometimes it's really hard to
It is.
bring it back down, and it can be a challenge. So I know last week we were talking about get outside and go
Mhm.
walking and slow your pace down. So I guess if you're practicing slowing your pace down, you can also throw a little bit of that breath work in. So
Absolutely.
you can practice your breathing and focus
Yeah, you're
on your
100% right.
diaphragm.
The other thing to think about too for everybody is that if you do have the time, which I know is really difficult, if you have the time to practice it when you're not stressed or don't feel as stressed, when you're able to kind of be mindful of your practice of breathing, what that does for the nervous system, you're actually teaching the nervous system to be more calm. So when you're in a stressful situation, maybe it was a 30 last time you were in a similar situation, because we know as parents we're in similar situations. Maybe it was a 30, but because you've been practicing the breathing for 2 weeks, it's at a 25. So the intensity might not be as high and the frequency might not be as much as you're feeling these stressful situations just by simply practicing it. So that's the other thing to think about. So maybe you can't utilize it in the moment, but maybe the moment isn't as intense. Does that make sense?
Yes. I have a question for you from
Yeah.
a comment that was in the chat. Lewis had said he's had that kind of breathing is not as easy for him
Yes, I saw.
because he's had a history of nasal trouble. Actually, guys, give me 1 second. I'm going to edit the back end of this just in case people want to speak freely. I forgot the recording is still going. So I'm going to edit this and say, thank you, Robin, for the presentation, just so that I can add that to the end of the edit. We're going to go off a recording so that we can freely